So recently the settings for your videos has been Minecraft. Why did you decide to switch to Minecraft for your backgrounds?
Um, that was partly a whim and partly a calculated decision. A couple years ago, I guess it was now a couple years ago, I started playing Minecraft with one of my best friend's 10-year-old son. We would play on servers and stuff, and the more I started playing Minecraft, the more I realized this game is amazing. I mean, it's just one of the most phenomenal, in my opinion, one of the most phenomenal sort of video games. I'm not a big gamer, so I don't have a PlayStation, I don't have an Xbox, I don't really know how to use those controllers with 20 buttons. But Minecraft was something simple and creative and kind of absorbing in a meditative sort of way that I was really attracted to. And then after a period of time, I found myself with all of these places that I'd made in Minecraft, and I started kind of making stories for them and imagining, what would happen in these places. And also part of it was a practical thing. If you're playing Minecraft for hours and hours and you end up with this sort of place that you've created, what do you do with it? Like, is this all you have to show for yourself for all of these hours of work? I mean, it just sits there. It's a very private sort of thing, like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. But I said, well, as long as I'm spending all this time making this stuff, I might as well get some use out of it. So then, I don't know, one thing led to another, and I thought, well, what if I put my characters in Minecraft? I mean, it allows you to have all of these sets that would otherwise take probably years to make in Blender, to make all of these places. And they're just there. And you could run the characters around in them. And it was also a video compositing challenge for me to how to get Ratboy Genius to ride a minecart was a very big challenge. I mean, it looks doesn't look great even when you watch it now, but believe me, it was a big challenge to figure out how to do that and to go frame by frame and to get him in there, and facing the right direction and not looking like he's just floating. Sometimes he is just floating because like that's just the way it is. But the other part of that, and the exciting creative part of that, is that I discovered when I started working in Minecraft, it would help me tell the story because I would already have these sets built. And then I would have to, it's like a problem. Like, well, you got this set, what's going to happen there? And so then you write a story for what happens in the set. I'm not a very, I don't plan these things out. When I did Ratboy Genius Dreams Minecraft, I wrote it one episode at a time. In fact, I did Happyman the same way. I did not know, not that Happyman's quite over yet, but I did not know what was going to happen when I started. And working in Minecraft is a really fun place to be when you're that kind of a creator, when you don't know what's going to happen, because you just kind of discover this new place that you've made and you're, oh, I could add that to the story. What's going to happen there? And only very rarely did I actually plan something out ahead of time. Most of the time, I just kind of let it sort of happen and see where it goes.
Looking on towards the future, since you've continued to use Minecraft for the Flood series, and now looking on past the Flood, do you think Minecraft is still going to be something you're going to want to work in for these videos, or take a break from and maybe come back to?
Yes, and yes to both of those. I've started working on the next series, which is Ratboy Genius, in space. I think it's going to be called Starship Genius is the name of his starship because everything has to have a name related to his name, and that's going to have both elements of Minecraft as well as just fully animated elements using Blender and other techniques. So I'm kind of start to combine those two worlds because what I'm hoping to do as this next series goes along is to reconnect Ratboy Genius's sort of world with Little King John's world, and Minecraft is going to be the sort of connection between those two places. But even now in the flood, I've started experimenting with green screening in Minecraft. So I've changed my texture pack a little bit and retextured some of the things as just green, and then I cut it out, I key it out in post production, and then put some backgrounds behind it. There's been just a little bit of that in the flood, but there's going to be a lot of that in the next Ratboy Genius series. So then, rather than use Minecraft for the backgrounds, I'm experimenting with using Minecraft for the foregrounds essentially, and then have the backgrounds be other types of animated elements, and that gives it a little bit more of a of evocative sort of space space to work in. But yeah, Minecraft, I'm gonna keep working. I don't actually play Minecraft anymore, except I don't have time, and it's not as exciting for me as it was at the beginning. But I still use it, for some of the scenes and the sets for obviously for the flood and Ratboy Genius's starship is going to be made mostly in Minecraft. So yeah, it'll still be there. But the Little King John series started out in Minecraft and it kind of stayed in Minecraft. But I'm hoping to get him out of Minecraft too, as the next Ratboy Genius series goes along. I'm sort of spoiler alert, trying to get him to escape from Minecraft, and that's going to be something that I'll be working on in this coming season.
Now, going back to the character of Ratboy Genius, you've described him as the figurehead of your cultural empire. Where did he come from? Was he the first character that you developed? And when you were working with him originally, did you have any sort of idea for the whole world that he existed in?
No, I did not have an idea. The character was originally developed. I can't even take full credit for it. My girlfriend at the time told me she had a dream about me as a genius rat, and which wasn't very flattering. But if you knew her, it'd be kind of it makes sense. And so I'm like, you mean like a rat boy genius? And she's like, yeah, like a rat boy genius. And that's kind of how it started. It was just a joke, and then we started kind of developing the character. And then it was another time she's the one who invented the summer solstice baby because she thought that she should have a character too if I was going to have a character. So the summer solstice baby was largely based on her, and that came from us going to a rave at the in Chicago, like the Museum of Modern Art or something, on the summer solstice. Like every year they have a summer solstice party, and we came home and she started saying, "I'm the summer solstice baby," and I'm like, "Oh, that's a great name for a character," and that's kind of how it got started. And then we goof around, but when I wasn't, I'm still not a good artist. It took me a long time to draw him and figure out what I wanted him to look like, because that's just not what I do. That doesn't come naturally to me. But I do like to draw characters. I'm not very good at drawing, things that look real. But just, sort of made up surreal kind of characters I do all the time. And that's how his friends came along. They would just be sketches out of my notebook, Mr. Big Arms and Very Tall Friend. I just called them what they look like. Because that's kind of part of the Dada thing that I was sort of thinking about at the beginning. And, it just kind of slowly evolved where he would be like the king of his kingdom. But also the idea was that he lived in a universe of his own. He does come into the real world sometimes, but it's kind of his own universe, and the laws of his universe are just based on his own imagination. I mean, if he wants to have a yacht, he can have a yacht. If he wants to have a submarine, he can have a submarine. It's not like he has to go do anything or buy these things. He just makes it. If he wants to have a castle, he makes a castle. And so I was kind of excited about having this sort of rugged individual in his own sort of way, like just kind of creating his own reality as he goes along. And that's how I've set up the series from the beginning. I mean, everything he does is he's just sort of makes his own reality as he goes along. But that's kind of where the characters originally came from. But it took a few years before I was comfortable enough to start making videos and then putting them on YouTube.
You've been making these videos for a long time, and they've been on YouTube for a long time. And so originally, way back in the beginning when you first began posting them, what was the reaction to the videos?
There was almost no reaction for a while. The first, probably year or few videos, it wasn't until Happyman Intermission came out that one, which was a fully CG animated story, got some attention based on Oni G, is that how you say his name? That great artist Chris, who has his own very popular YouTube channel. He favorited it, and all of a sudden, in one day, it went from 1,000 views to 10,000 views in one day, and that kind of got the attention of a lot of people. But still, considering that I started more than 7 years ago with the videos there, it just sort of slowly kind of spread around. Most people aren't very attracted to it when they see it for the first time, or if they see something out of context, they don't understand what it means, and then they just kind of shut it off and forget about it. But There's a handful of people like yourself and like myself and other types of creative people who are searching for these types of bizarre, seemingly bizarre, but also thoughtful and hopefully the music is attractive type of work. But I still don't really, except for Potato Knishes, which somehow has over 1 million views. I still don't feel like I have a very big, following. But I have a lot of people that write to me and tell me that they love the music, and that means a lot to me because that's what I ultimately care about. I think the most is the music.
Yeah, so you mentioned Potato Knishes, which is definitely is by far your most popular video. Do you have any idea why it became so popular
No,
and how that happened?
no, I don't have any idea why. I know how it happened. Somehow, some people started sharing it every day on 4chan and Reddit, and it just filled up the boards. And out of context, I guess if you just see that video and you don't understand what it's from, it is pretty strange, and it is like a non sequitur to everything else that you may have seen that day. But I don't understand why it's so popular. I would have never imagined when I made that little song. That song just started because I was playing Minecraft, and the scrap, I think it's called, one of the things that comes out of the machines in the Tekkit mod look like potato knishes. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun if Little King John sings a song about all these things that obviously aren't what they really are in Minecraft. He just makes up his own ideas about what these things are. That's part of his shtick, is that he just, like Ratboy Genius, he's very creative, but he's and he tries to create his own reality, but he because he's stuck in Minecraft, he largely fails because, what he can call them potato knishes, but everyone knows that it's scrap. Or he can call them little black squash balls, but everyone knows that they're rubber. Or at least everyone who plays Minecraft knows that. So he's kind of stuck in a way that Ratboy Genius is not. I have no idea why that. It is a kind of a catchy song, and potato knishes is not something you hear animated rat-like things sing about every day. So it is kind of bizarre, and it's very surreal. But I think ultimately it's been so successful because this people think the song is really catchy.
I know there are a lot of people out there for whom Potato Knishes is their primary or only exposure to your work. Is it ever at all frustrating to see how much exposure it has gotten as opposed to the rest of your body of work?
It could be if I let it be, but I don't look at it that way. I try to look at it like, well, there's a lot of people who, if it hadn't been for that video, would never have seen any of my other videos. So it's kind of like a gateway drug to the rest of the Ratboy Genius universe, and that's fine with me. If it's kind of, my calling card to get people, it's not necessarily the one I would have chosen for myself, but we don't have control over these things on the internet. It doesn't really bother me. What The only thing that it kind of bothers me a little bit is that people think that I deliberately just made this video to be by itself because they don't take the time to explore the context from where it's from. Um, but there's nothing I can do about that. And if this has over 1 million views, I can't expect all of those people to take the time to go further into my work. It's just like, oh, something funny that they probably watch, some of these kids, I'll call them kids because I think a lot of them are probably in high school. They probably watch 100 funny videos a day, and this is just one that they came across that day. They weren't looking for an artistic awakening of any kind, or even to be, well, educated in or edified or anything like that. It's just some goofy thing that popped up on their smartphone.
Yeah, so you mentioned you wouldn't have chosen Potato Knishes as the sort of gateway to your work. So, what video or video series do you think would have been your preferred introduction?
Well, that is a good question. I don't know if it'd be hard for me to pick one. They're all so different. I mean, I have some of my own favorites, I guess. Um, the Ratboy Genius theme song is still one of my favorites. And that one's pretty popular too. Nowhere near as popular as the Knishes, but that's a pretty good one. But I have started thinking about that more as because now that I get more attention, um, I have to kind of feel like I'm getting more serious about the sort of image of Ratboy Genius. At the beginning, I didn't really care. He didn't really, nobody cared. Now that somebody cares, I have to be a little bit more careful, I think. Um, but I don't know of all the ones. I would say the theme song's a good place to start, um, to kind of get into the world of Ratboy Genius.
Since we're talking about Ratboy Genius becoming more popular, I think in 2011 the entire opera of Happyman was played on one of the most widely known freeform radio stations, WFMU, which is out of New Jersey. Did you know about that, and do you think it had any effect on your popularity?
I did not know about it until after it happened. I discovered it afterwards and had some contact with the DJ that played it. It was very flattering. I was living in New York at the time, so I was kind of local to WFMU. I didn't hear it being played on the radio. That would have been pretty fun, but um, that performance, um, I don't I don't remember exactly how much of a boost it actually gave my YouTube traffic, but it was pretty neat for me just to know, for the kind of working in seclusion with all of this stuff. Because don't forget, like I said, this was a hobby for me. I had my sort of public life in grad school of the music that people knew about, but I didn't even play this stuff for my professors, and most of my friends didn't know about it, and most of my friends didn't care. Frankly. So it was kind of fun to know that somebody found it and somebody liked it, and somebody considered it, worthy of their attention for an hour or however long it took to play it. So that was kind of nice. That was very rare. And like you're playing my music, it's still a very rare thing for me to get on the radio, but it is very satisfying to know that there are some people out there that appreciate what I'm doing. I don't have a marketing team. I don't really sell this stuff. I don't really push this stuff on anyone. That's one of the things about Ratboy Genius that I've tried to keep kind of pure, is that it just is sort of there, and if you want to find it, it's there. But I don't really kind of push it or sell it or try to make it into anything. I just want to let it sort of be what it is, and people can take it the way they want to.
So, going back to the world of Ratboy Genius, and specifically the opera of Happyman and that world with the Galactic Superheroes, you mentioned that it's not over yet. So, why did you stop making those videos, and why has there been such a long hiatus?
I stopped making Happyman because I felt like if I was going to finish it, I would have to have more attention. I did not want to finish it in seclusion with nobody watching. I have some ideas of what's supposed to happen, but to be honest, it gets pretty dark. And I didn't want to go there yet, until I was really ready, not just ready with the sort of my fan base, but ready with me as a creative artist to figure out how to compose this ending. Now I'm working towards it. And the next Rap Boy Genius series, I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, I'm going to connect him to the Galactic Superheroes, and I'm going to connect him to the battle with the Big Fish boss, and I'm going to connect that to the Flood, um, with the starship and the ancient starship from the future. And I'm going to sort of try to connect all of these stories and what happened to George's arms and all of these other elements. I'm hoping will all come together, in a sort of, not necessarily one big climax, but certainly some resolutions of what's been happening. Happy Man, I just gave up on because I'm not give didn't give up on, but I stopped writing because I kind of was telling myself this is too good to just give away. I need to wait until there's more interest, and make more of an impression with what's going to happen here. I don't mean too good, like this, the animation's so good and the story's so good. I just mean like me personally, for my own storytelling, this is just too big for me. Like this is a big story that I'm telling in my life, and I've never really done anything like that before, and I wanted to make sure it was exactly right. So I decided to put it away for a while. The Galactic Superheroes is for those who don't know, is the prequel to the Happy Man story, and in order to finish the Happy Man story, I had to do first the prequel to the story so that you would understand better about who these George, Fred, and Sue characters were. And in order to really pull off a really emotional sort of finish to this story, that it had to be done. Galactic Superheroes was a strange experiment that at the time I thought failed, and it still probably kind of failed. I mean, it's interesting and it's fun. And I got some good characters out of that, like the Hoo Hoos that I'm using now in the Flood, and they're going to be in the next series too. But as a medium, it just was really bad. I mean, it looks really bad, and it's just I don't know. I wasn't so excited with the way things were going, and plus, nobody was watching it. Don't forget. I mean, that was years ago. That some of those videos had like 100 views for like a year, so I didn't really know that anyone cared. Now that people are starting to care, I can go back and reconsider, um, working with this stuff again.
You mentioned the medium of Galactic Superheroes as a failure, and I will say that actually I think the visuals of Galactic Superheroes are some of my favorites that you've done, and I found myself drawn to them, especially in the first one with the hoo-hoos and Fingerhead. So was it a failure driven by a lack of YouTube views, or did you feel like it wasn't working for you on a personal level?
Yeah, I think more that, more personal. I guess for the Galactic Superheroes, the music was not. I mean, the music was important, but it wasn't the main driving force behind it. That one's more, it's an animated comic book, is what it is. And like I said before, I'm not really a writer. It's not a natural medium for me to work in. Thank you for saying that you like the visuals. It was kind of an experiment, but then I kind of got shut down because for a lot of those backgrounds, I was using this animation software called Bryce, which no longer they don't make it anymore, so I can't use it anymore. It doesn't run on new machines on 64-bit or machines, and you can't do high def with it. It's so limited. But it was an easy, fun way for me to make backgrounds for this thing. For Happyman too, I used Bryce, and so in a way, I kind of got shut down. Not just myself shutting myself down, but I got shut down by my tools because it was no longer available to me. And in order to keep any kind of consistency with that and just ease of production, it was no longer possible. It's nice to hear you say though that you like some of those visuals. It was definitely an experiment. And it was also my first experiment with subtitles, which I still do now, because I realized that some people can't understand those voices. And then some people, obviously watch this around the world and they don't understand what's going on. So, but George and Fred and Sue will be back. I do not think they're going to be CG characters. I think they're going to stay as their 2D characters. And I tried doing CG characters for them, but it just didn't feel right. So I think they're gonna that world will be back again.
And so earlier you mentioned that looking forward into the next series with a Starship Genius, that you were going to try to do some new stuff with blending the Minecraft and CGI aspects. So looking even farther forward and beyond that, are there any other new formats or styles and mediums that you're excited about or interested in or planning on experimenting with?
Um, to be honest, I haven't thought that far ahead. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I never know. I just kind of one thing leads to the next. I'm not very good at planning what I want to do. I never have been. Even when I just write music, just to write music, I never get a big picture. It's always a little bit at a time, a little bit of sweat at a time, and then it's not until I've done one thing that I know what has to happen next. So beyond like the fact that I even have an idea of how these stories are going to resolve is very unusual for me. Um, but one thing I, kind of would like to do with Ratboy Genius or with Happyman Opera is to try to get some live performances of it, or at least get some live musicians to and real singers to try to do that. Maybe not the whole opera at first, but maybe parts of it. I think that would be really fun. I guess a long-term fantasy would to be to have like a 3D professionally animated movie with real singers and real animators doing this stuff. I don't have any plans for how that's going to get done, but that's sort of always it's been in the back of my mind lately that would be the next sort of big step would be a professional production. But I kind of I'm also worried about that because it's been a one-man band up till now, and I haven't really brought a lot of other people in to help me or to contribute. So the only way Ratboy Genius is going to evolve, I suppose, is for me to sort of have a team and rely on more people for creative decisions and production.
So then, also thinking farther ahead into the future, about both your videos and the music you're doing in general. Do you see yourself at all beginning to move away from either the world of Ratboy Genius or the types of stories and shorter videos that you've been doing?
Mm, no. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. Um, I think that the short form, like I've found that 5 minutes is a pretty good length for a video. Um, not just because of people's attention span, but because musically, I find that's a satisfying sort of length of time to have a musical expression. Um, and for like a single song, I find that like between 90 seconds and 2.5 minutes is a good length. Um, I think the idea of a 3 minute song is passe. I don't think anyone wants a 3 minute song anymore, unless you just repeat stuff over and over again, which I don't like to do. Um, but I kind of enjoy the breaking up a story over shorter segments, and that's kind of what I plan to keep doing with this next series. Though this next series is going to have different types of elements. There's going to be story and adventure, but there's also going to be some quasi educational things that the Ratboy Genius does from time to time to kind of teach about something like he did with his Curiosities on Mars that or the Abe Lincoln, the Ford's Theater type of thing. So there's going to be more of that kind of stuff going on. But in the back of my mind, it's always been a variety show.
Now, moving away from Ratboy Genius, you mentioned that when you first started doing Ratboy Genius that you had the music you were doing for school for your PhD, and then a Ratboy Genius, which you didn't show to almost anyone. So now there's a large number of people for whom Ratboy Genius is their only exposure to your work. So can you describe some of the music that you've done, say for your PhD, that's kind of in contrast to Ratboy Genius?
I wrote all sorts of crazy stuff. I had some stuff for chorus, and I was very fortunate at my program at NYU. I got to work with some of the greatest new music musicians in New York City at that time. That basically funded by my department to work with these people and have them perform my music. So it was a once in a lifetime experience to learn how music works and to hear your music played. So I wrote all sorts of things. And but since I finished grad school, I kind of got less and less interested in concert music. I still write a lot of piano music. I have a book of piano music that I finished called Art of Triad, and I'm kind of working on a second book. It's a book of, I guess you'd call preludes, piano preludes, suites of preludes. Um, but I don't really care about concert music anymore, to be honest. There's once this sort of Rap Boy Genius stuff got more popular. I mean, I take the music just as seriously with Rap Boy Genius as I ever did for my PhD. In fact, I probably take it more seriously because it means more to me personally. It's not for school. It's not for achievement. It's just for me, and now my fans. But I'd like to think that the music that I'm doing for this is about the best music I could possibly create. And it's also closer to who I am as a person than, a lot of this new concert music that's being done. And also, it's kind of vain, but there's something exciting about having 10,000 people on YouTube in a week hear something that I've written, and as opposed to having a new music concert where there's 20 people there, and then the piece never gets played again. And I've spent months and months of my life writing this piece that 20 people heard. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I still write music, and occasionally people ask me to write more concert type stuff for them. And I have some ideas for a marimba concerto that I'm working on, and a piano concerto that I'm working on. But it's just harder to get performances. When I can do it myself and get immediate satisfaction and get immediate feedback, that's just so seductive.
You mentioned that back when you were at NYU, you didn't show your professors your Rapid Genius stuff. So since then, have you shown it to them, or have they found it at all?
Yeah, some of them have seen it. One of my composition teachers, the one who got me into multimedia composition, she's seen a lot of the stuff, and she's been very supportive. When I started doing the Happyman opera, I actually did kind of share it with her because I needed some quote unquote professional feedback on if this was even worth my time. And some of my other colleagues in grad school that I were very much into social media and the internet in general. I'd share it with them to see how this kind of fit in with the world of the internet as they knew it. But more people now obviously know about it. But to be honest, I don't really get a lot of feedback from my friends. My friends never watch this stuff. My family barely watches this stuff. They barely know about it. But that's be the same with concert music too. I mean, if I had a concert here of a new piano trio or something, my friends wouldn't really necessarily feel like it was their obligation to come and hear it. It's like, oh, Ryan, he just writes so much music. I'll hear the next piece. Um, but yeah, I think more people do, to finish answering your question, more people do kind of know that I do it, but I have never been aware that they pay that much attention.
So that actually basically answers almost all of my questions, but I do have one more, which is, were you in Gattaca?
Were I in Gattaca? Yes, I was. I played a 12-fingered pianist. Um, then Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman go to a piano recital, and I am the pianist, and I'm in the movie, and I'm on the soundtrack. That was just a weird, funny, random gig that I did just when I was getting close to finishing college. Um, and the music director came to UCLA because they were looking for a young male pianist that vaguely fitted my description. But most of all, they were looking for someone young who they could get to play this music for cheap because they couldn't afford to license the Horowitz recording of this piece. And they wanted to kind of manipulate the piece a little bit so that it was different from the original because the character is supposed to have 12 fingers. It was a very bizarre sort of thing. I'm not an actor and I never really tried to be in the Hollywood scene, but it was really neat. And I'm glad the movie turned out so good. I didn't even tell anyone that I was doing it because I was afraid, the movie sounded really weird and I was afraid it was going to be really bad. And I didn't want to be like in this bad movie. I was more of a snob at that time in my younger days. And I had this kind of chip on my shoulder against Hollywood and film music and all this stuff. I was this aspiring artist. But I was glad it turned out so well, and it was a lot of fun, and it was neat to meet Ethan Hawke and Jude Law. I did not meet Uma Thurman, but they were all really nice to me, and it was kind of a fun experience. And the money was pretty good. I mean, I got a new 88 weighted keyboard from that gig, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, so actually, just a few more questions. So kind of looking back to when you first started making Ratboy Genius, and also first started, I guess even more than that, first started putting videos up on YouTube. Did you ever think that it would sort of become what it has, both in terms of its popularity and also in terms of this universe that you've created?
Um, in my mind, it hasn't really become that much. The thing about YouTube is you don't really feel uh, your impact directly. Um, I mean, people write to me all the time and they say that, they love my work, but people write to me all the time and they say they hate my work. So, you can't win them all. So in my mind, to be honest, I thought Rap Boy Genius would be a lot bigger than it was. I thought this was the neatest thing I'd ever seen. When I started making it, shows what I know, but I'm just satisfied that somebody cares and enough people are caring that I know for a fact that there are at least dozens of people out there that have, really appreciated my music and my contribution to the sort of world of music and world of fantasy. Um, but I didn't really set out to take over the world. I just really kind of set out to create something that I could be proud of. And I know I haven't taken over the world, but I can be proud of my work. So I'm pleased about that. I try not to put anything out unless I'm can be proud of it.
Well, I would say you've definitely done something worth being proud of. And on that note, I'll let you go, but thank you so much for spending the time to sit down and talk with me. This was very interesting, and you were a great guest, so thank you.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for your interest.
Well, thank you again, Ryan. Ryan Dorin is on YouTube and Twitter as Ratboy Genius. You can also find more information at ryandorin.com and his music on Bandcamp at ratboygenius.bandcamp.com. We'll finish off by playing Ryan Dorin's Art of Triad 9, number 7.